A classic, an all-time great, a benchmark for interactive entertainment. These are just some of the ways that the iconic Ocarina of Time has been described. Undoubtedly, the Legend of Zelda franchise is one of the most important video game series ever made. After spending over a decade with Zelda games solely existing in the realm of 2D, Nintendo would completely revamp the franchise, bringing it into the 3D realm and resulting in the critically acclaimed Ocarina of Time. In the past on this channel, we have already explored in depth the efforts that have been made to recreate this classic in the style of a 2D Super Nintendo game, but what if fans of the title were to go one step further and aim to make an 8-bit rendition of this legendary game? Well, thankfully for all you lucky people, that is precisely what we will discuss today. So, without further ado, I am Lady Decade, and this is The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time for the NES. Before we start this video, I have a small favour to ask you. 52% of you watching are not yet subscribed, and my goal is to raise my views from subscribers to 70%. So if you have ever liked any of the videos I've posted, or if you like this channel, can you do me a quick favour and hit that subscribe button? It helps this channel more than you know. The bigger the channel gets, as you've seen, the more ambitious the production of videos will become. Unless you have a deep knowledge of how Nintendo approached the Ocarina of Time, you might not even be aware of the native connection the 64 title has with the often forgotten Famicom follow-up, The Adventure of Link. While A Link to the Past would be highly regarded, its gameplay was iterative. Much of the gameplay from the first title would be vastly expanded in the third, returning the gameplay to an overhead adventure. Soon after, the Link's Awakening title for the Game Boy would replicate this style, presenting more of the same, resulting in another highly regarded classic, but it would be tough to argue a case for this game being as innovative as Zelda 2, even if many of the franchise's fans do not appreciate it to the same degree as other Zelda titles. In fact, Miyamoto chalks up The Adventure of Link as one of his missed opportunities. In an interview with Kotaku, Miyamoto stated, "I wouldn't say that I've ever made a bad game per se, but a game I think we could have done more with was Zelda 2 The Adventure of Link. When we're designing games, we have our plan for what we're going to design, but in our process, it evolves and grows from there. In Zelda 2 The Adventure of Link, unfortunately, all we ended up creating was what we had originally planned on paper. I think specifically in the case of Zelda 2, we had a challenge just in terms of what the hardware was capable of doing." So, there you have it. Apparently even Miyamoto thought it could have been better. It's not hard to see this nagging feeling in the back of Miyamoto's mind driving a project several years later when he finally had more computing power and distance from the original title. In the latter days of the Super Nintendo, Nintendo would prototype a 3D-based remake of the title heavily influenced by Chanbara, the stylish samurai swordplay you'd see in everything from classic action films from Japan to Kill Bill, John Wick, and the Soul Calibur and Samurai Showdown series. With the native 3D powers of the Nintendo 64 at the ready, Nintendo would move this new Zelda project to the Nintendo 64, featuring what could be considered a fair amount of focus on the swordplay. Previous Zelda games would feature Link wielding a sword, yes, but it was a simple one-swing attack, or maybe shooting lasers if you were lucky enough to have a full heart. Ocarina of Time turned sword battles, parries, and shield play into a core component of both young and adult Link's action, giving Link the most range he had had with a sword since Zelda 2. With that bit of secret history unearthed connecting The Adventure of Link to the Ocarina of Time, let's look at Zelda 2 The Ocarina of Time. This fan hack, developed by Miralooper using the work by CF207 in creating the Z2 Edit software, resets the world of the latter Nintendo 64 title into the NES era, with the game's opening text scroll stating, "Ages ago, the ancient sages built the Temple of Time to protect the sacred realm. Ganondorf, the Gerudo King of Thieves, has obtained the Triforce of Power and become the King of Evil. The power of the sages lies sleeping in 6 temples across Hyrule. The time has come for you to awaken as the hero of time." ROMHacking.net states, "This adaptation takes Link to familiar places and a few new ones. It's designed to be more difficult, more forgiving, and less linear than the vanilla game." I mean, can a game really be more difficult yet more forgiving at the same time? Let's discuss things. The game directly takes aspects from the 3D adventure and not just simple inspiration by tossing a few new skins and dialogue throughout the game. Soon after beginning the game, Link makes his way out of the Deku Tree, through Gerudo Valley, Dodongo's Cavern, and inside Jabu Jabu's belly. Following this, Link can travel to the future and explore the various temples as best replicated from the original title. All the while, the Tektites frequently found in Ocarina can challenge Link in red and blue varieties. Much like the classics, when Link makes it to specific towns, he can converse with the local citizens, recover health, and prepare for, say, diving into the Gerudo training grounds or the Light Temple. Link will finally reach Ganon's castle by the end of the title, which efficient players who know how to handle Zelda 2's unique gameplay can make in around 3 hours. Before the final battle with Ganon, Link must face off in the iconic Shadow Link battle, gaining the Triforce and preparing for his final fate. Hang on, wait. Defeating Shadow Link brings the game to a close. Are you telling me this developer didn't want to figure out how to use light arrows and perfectly parry attacks from Ganon, face off against a more horrendous monster form, and escape the castle with Princess Zelda in tow? I demand my $0 back and to get more from these free works. Kidding, obviously. The game still has to work within the constraints of the original Famicom title and is more of a spiritual recreation than an outright rebuild. The overworld map is noted to be faithful to Ocarina of Time, even to the level where the same route through the Lost Woods to reach the Forest Temple is being recreated. And much like that title, when you make the wrong turn, you'll be sent back to the entrance. A frustrating but rewarding tradition in the Zelda franchise isn't exclusive to that title, but seeing the same path in play is a true dedication. One aspect the game couldn't do 100% given the relative limitations of the 8-bit hardware is the actual time travel aspect. Thanks to recreating the Temple of Time as a raft location, players will instead sail to the new future world. The Shadow Temple meanwhile brings in the invisible floors and hidden passages into the classic, and the Water Temple? Well, they actually made this tolerable. The problem is that the enemy appearances in the game are a bit jacked up to an insane degree, making the game challenging at points. Reviews of the hack are sometimes unforgiving, as this won't be covered on the mainstream sites since they like to keep on good terms with Nintendo. ROMhacking.net though features several comments indicating that many have found this very challenging. Despite its flaws in places, it would be hard to challenge the fact that this is the most comprehensive Ocarina of Time inspired ROM hack on the NES. All the locations in the 3D classic have been represented here, not only bringing a dose of Ocarina of Time nostalgia to the 8-bit platform, but an interesting and unique twist on the under-celebrated adventure of Link 2. Sure, this is no like-for-like recreation of an all-time great, but it's a great way of paying homage to a classic, delivering a new experience in the process. Remember, 52% of you watching are not subscribed, so if you enjoyed this one, do me a quick favour and hit that subscribe button. If you want more content like this, click on my Zelda fan game playlist right now.